Hey, boys and girls, this time it's actually Friday. Sorry about the mix up for yesterday. So, today we are going to begin diving deep into our story and kind of picking it apart and just finding those little places where we could make it that much better. This is a part of the writing process, it's part of the editing process. If you've ever read or talked with famous authors, they will talk about how they have to go back and go back and go back and go back and edit and revise just a word here, a whole part here, and edit and revise their story so that they can make it just as strong of a story as they can so that their readers follow that plot roller coaster and are part of the story with them. So today we're going to look at this idea of revising leads. And so I want everybody, when you're working on this today, first thing I want you to do is to start on slide 37, okay? On slide 37, we're looking at our leads here, and it says revising leads. The beginning of your personal narrative is called a lead, right? Sometimes we also call it a hook. And it is essential to write a lead that is engaging and interesting and unique, right? You don't want your lead to be exactly like my lead and exactly like somebody else's lead because boring, right? You want to be original. You want to be unique with your lead, okay? So the goal is to entice the reader to want to read more, to entice them, to pull them in where the story's beckoning them, okay? With your lead or your hook. So we're going to look at some ways here some more ways to talk about having a strong lead with our story. So I want you to think about what's the most important part of your most exciting point in your story of your narrative. That's that climax part, right? The part that we get so excited about, right? But you could start there. And we've talked about this before. And that's actually when I modeled for you where I started mine. So you describe the action and the intensity to invite the readers into your narrative. And here's the part in reading some of yours where I think we need a little bit of boom, a little pump, okay? Is that intensity part, okay? It's got to be intense. It's got to be inviting, something that people want to read where they feel like this is a special or unique story. This isn't something that happens every day, okay? Something crazy happened. Even if you're being a little bit hyperbolic, you're exaggerating a little bit, you can do that in this part of your story to make it a little bit more interesting and engaging to read. Don't make it bonkers, right? But you can embellish a little bit in this part of your story um, so that people want to read it, make it more intense feeling, right? Okay, so the most intense part of my story is when the yellow jackets were swarming and whoops, stinging my friends and me, right? Am I going to put me and my friends? No. If you learn nothing else, learn that, boys and girls. Don't be a narcissist. Do not put yourself first. Okay? The yellow jackets were swarming and stinging me. I'm adding my friends in there, so I'm going to say they were swarming and stinging my friends and me. Got it? Okay. All right, that's the most intense part. That's somewhere where I could start. All right, I could grab my reader's attention by creating a picture in the reader's mind to incorporate some of the five senses. So I could start out with that imagery, right? I could start off with the idea of the crisp fall leaves crunching under my feet, the fresh fall air, maybe the smell of burning leaves from the distance, because most people where I grew up threw their leaves in the woods, but several did burn their leaves, and sometimes that smell, as you know, is very pungent and carries for a long distance, right? Um, I could talk about the warm sun on a cool day. I could talk about hearing the creek babbling over the rocks, because at the bottom of Elizabeth's yard, at the bottom of this hill, there was a creek down there. Okay, so some of that imagery, some of those five senses. All right, let's look at our third idea, that third way to lead your reader in. Start with someone speaking to draw the reader's attention, right? Draw the reader into your narrative. Showcase people's personalities through their words, right? So in our group, Elizabeth was more of our leader, right? And so I could start with the dialogue part of, oops, Elizabeth insisted that there is no way it is a snake's hole. It is definitely, oops, a chipmunks. Oops. All right, got lots of typos in here. Is that okay? Yep, I'm just going to go back and fix them. Elizabeth insisted that there is no, oops, way it is a snake's hole. It is definitely a chipmunk's, right? I could start with that. I could start with that phrase, and then you're like, uh-oh, was it a snake's hole? And then you find out it wasn't a snake's hole at all. It was a yellow jacket's nest, right? Okay, so let's look at these 3 different ways here. Yellow jackets are swarming and stinging my friends and me. Or I could talk about the imagery, the crisp fall leaves crunching under my feet, the fresh fall air, the burning leaves smell from the distance, the warm sun on the cool day, hearing the babbling in the creek over the rocks. Elizabeth insisting that there is no way it's a snake's hole. It is definitely a chipmunk. All right, so I'm going to go back to slide 32, and I'm going to revisit my introduction. So your job is going to be to complete that slide 37, all 3 of those places. Think through how you could incorporate those ideas in your lead. And then we're going to go back to 32 and see if do you want to change how you started your lead? Do you want to, or are you just going to kind of tweak it a little bit, just add a few little things here and there, okay? So Buzz, what's happening? Panic flows through my veins. Ouch, Buzz, yellow jacket. These are yellow jackets swarming on me like a waterfall. That was how it all began. I was walking through the woods on a cool fall afternoon with my 2 friends, Elizabeth and Robin. We were singing the latest tune from Olivia Newton-John when we saw a hole in the ground. All right, so I'm thinking here that I could maybe add some of those sensory details into my story, right? So I was walking in the woods on a cool fall afternoon with my 2 friends, Elizabeth and Robin. We were singing the latest tunes from Olivia Newton-John. We could, whoops. All right, I was walking in the woods on a cool fall afternoon with my 2 friends, Elizabeth and Robin. We could smell someone burning leaves far off in the distance, the freshly fallen leaves crushed under our feet. We were singing the latest tune from Olivia Newton-John when we saw a hole in the ground, right? Now, if we go back to 37, I also had this, so I've included, I'm starting at the intense part here. I did go back and add some of this imagery. You do not have to do all 3 of these, okay? But if there's pieces of them that could be embedded into your story, then that might be something interesting to do, okay? So again, we've talked about this before, but we're going to have dialogue in our story. We don't want the whole story to be dialogue, but we want some. So I'm thinking that maybe I want to add some of Elizabeth's dialogue here, okay? So let's go back. So Elizabeth debated and argued that she knew it was a chipmunk's hole because she had placed acorns there, right? And so maybe I decide that I want to put some dialogue in here. So for right now, I'm just going to put that here. And then when we go back to visit dialogue, I can kind of revisit that again. And this is one of the good things about doing it on a computer is you can kind of cut and paste and move parts around, and you might move them back around again, but you have lots of different ways that you can edit and move things. So today, your job is to complete slide 37 with your revising the leads, right? Fill all 3 of these in for me, thinking about how you can edit and change your story. And then I want you to go back to slide 32 and see what changes or edits you can make there to just enhance your story all the more. The way you're going to let me know that you listened to the whole recording. Ready? Okay. On slide 37, you're going to insert a picture of a chipmunk. Got it? Chipmunk. So, chipmunk. Oh, ain't he cute? A lot better than those yellow jackets. So, I'm going to insert the chipmunk. Our secret code that says, Mrs. Gilliard, I listened to all the wisdom you had to impart on me today. Right? And then I'm going to be a famous writer one day, and I'm going to come back to room 35, and I'm going to visit your class and talk to them about it. Right? So the secret image of the day is a chipmunk. Boys and girls, I've loved sharing this story with you. I can't wait to read more of your stories, and I hope you have an amazing afternoon and weekend. Take care, kiddos. Bye-bye.